right? So it's starting to go like, wait a minute, if I'm not my thoughts, if they're mine, what do I want to be thinking?
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello. My name is Ellie Dodds and I'm co-presenter, and today Jo is interviewing Marnie Nir. Humour, compassion and candour are the driving forces in Marnie's work as SVP of Content and Expert Coach with Handel Group. She finally returned from Florida, a period in her life she likes to refer to as witness protection, to her home state of New York, but shuffled around from New York to California and back again throughout her life. Marnie's professional and personal life have come full circle as well. A student of Slavic language and literature at UCLA, Marnie graduated with a BA and an understanding of Russian literature as purification through suffering. Years later, after several jobs in publicity and production, most notably for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live tour, Can't Make This Stuff Up, she began to see that, at least in her own life, suffering was not mandatory. After marrying and giving birth to her first child, Marnie started coaching with her sister, Lauren Zander, creating the dream of who she wanted to be as not her mother. However, her work with Lauren took everything in her life to a much deeper level. More than a decade later, she is now an empty nester of two, co-author with Lauren of Maybe It's You, SVP of Content and Development, and an expert coach in the Handel method. She has also continued her creative work, namely as co-creator of the animated series Mother Up, which aired 13 episodes on Hulu and starred Eva Longoria. Serving as an expert at campowerment, blogging for the Huffington Post, as well as writing her own blog, The Sour MILF. As with every area of her life, Marnie's coaching is characterised by joyful honesty. She brings lightness and levity to her work. I have zero problem telling on myself. I use my jerk to help others see their own. Consequently, she is continually inspired by the difference that telling the truth offers to her clients. For Marnie, it's about building the muscle of personal integrity where what comes out of your mouth is what shall be. In this way, you can really go from I will go to the gym to I will win an Emmy, and not just say it, but believe it and cause it. Having been married for more than 25 years, Marnie particularly enjoys working with wives, mothers and singles because she is well acquainted with the challenges they face and speaks bitch, martyr and chicken fluently. She lives in Pound Ridge, New York with her husband and FaceTimes often with her two children. She even likes them. Back to the studio.
Just to let you know, this podcast has a little fruitier language than usual, and if you're a regular podcast listener, I just wanted to make you aware. It's a really interesting conversation with Marnie though, so please do listen. It's not anything more than colourful in the moment. Today I'm talking with Marnie Nir of Handel Group. Welcome Marnie, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jo. Good to be here.
So start by telling us who you are, what you do, and crucially, where you do it.
Let's see. I am an executive life coach for Handel Group. I'm also the creative officer at Handel Group. So I've been writing the content for years now. And I've been doing it from my own home in Westchester, New York, about an hour north of New York City.
Lovely. So how did that come about? Because I talked to a lot of my podcast guests about, you know, did you want to do this all along when you were growing up and everything else? And it's probably the 80-20 rule. Probably 80% of people that I talk to are doing something now completely different to what they intended and to what they did when they first started out in the world of work. So what's your journey been like?
It's kind of a funny story. Let's see. How did this happen? Never thought I'd be a life coach, though. Clearly, I'm opinionated, like fixing people, like it's in our nature. It's just right. I'm tell people what to do. Sure, okay, but it wasn't my thing. I went to school. I went to a university at UCLA. I studied Russian literature of all things. So I really just walked around campus smoking cigarettes and reading everything I wanted to read. So that was that. It came out of school, really was picking my jobs based on where I could smoke, where I could possibly get laid easiest. like my priorities were really, clear, but maybe skewed. Okay. But I really wanted to dress the way I wanted to dress and smoke cigarettes and get laid. So that brought me to music, publicity, the land of that.
Yeah.
Eventually, I worked for the Moscow Circus, which was an interesting part for a producer there, and was an executive assistant for a long time, but was never really career focused. It was more, where could I have fun? Yeah. And eventually met my husband, quit working for music, and moved to the suburbs of Connecticut at that time, and started just quickly mutating into my own mother, period. Right?
Was that a good thing or not?
It was not a good thing. It was like, destiny, and probably most of our destiny if you don't intervene. Right. But definitely noticed it quickly, had my first child, was trying to get pregnant with my second, having issues with that. So I was in fertility stuff. And that's when I finally let my baby sister, who was started her own life coaching company, coach me. Right. So I let her in and I was like, fine. Fine, do something. I don't want to really go back to work, but I'm not doing so great at this motherhood thing. I need to do something else with this, or I'm going to go crazy and just suck. So that's when she intervened and started using the Handel method on me. And we made a deal of, if she gets me my dream, whatever it was, I had to pay it forward.
Yeah.
So I'd have to do everything she taught me with others. So I'd have to go coach if she got me what I wanted. And so I made the deal of fine, get me my dream and will. And that's really when we started working together.
So question, did you make the deal thinking it would never happen?
I don't know. It did sound like a bad deal, right? Because the idea of getting out of myself and helping others and using what I I think I always got off on outing my own asshole for others, for a better cause, right? You're like, okay, I can admit I'm a jerk here, 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 and here, right? Mm-hmm. Could I help people get the joke if I got it, right? Yeah. So the helping people get the dark jokes was always part, see Russian literature, it was always there.
Yeah.
Right. My dark sense of humor. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I mean, maybe there was part of what's my dream and what are you going to get me to realize? And so she really had me start writing what my dream career would be. Right. If I it was easy. I knew I didn't want to just be an at-home mom. That wasn't enough. I wanted more, but I wasn't really clear about what it was I wanted to do. And so she had me write out my dream and, possible options. And really, it was a funny time because it was right at the time when Sex in the City on TV, with Sarah Jessica Parker, just started. Right. And that was it was a long time ago. And, there's much better TV on now. But back then, that was whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
This is fun. And so I really wanted the fictitious job of Carrie Brett, whatever. I had her she was a columnist and got to just write a sex and dating column. Looked like such a fun gig. I was like, I want her gig. I'm not going to write about sex, obviously. Please, I'll spare people that. But I could go make fun of motherhood.
Yeah.
And make fun of the suburb I was in and life with kids and that sort of shitty pro bono gig that I was clearly failing at. And I just thought that would be fun. And so that was my dream. I was like, fine, I want to be a columnist. And it happened. Like, it really was like 2 phone calls later, I had like a column in the Westport News. And then all of a sudden we're like, wow, someone had an idea that I should turn it into a TV show. And then that happened, right? I mean, it was a long process. It was a lot of crying and and my sister kicking me out, getting me out of the puddle and up again. But really, 8 years later, I had a show on Hulu, 13 episodes. Eva Longoria played my voice, and it happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're like, fuck, right? So like I owed.
So yeah, really not what you planned when you were at school.
Like, but I really did. Like, but like I can look back, Joe, and go like, oh God, right? Like there I was. I like oddly picked UCLA. Turns out I want to write TV shows, right? Like I was that close to my dream and an easy.
Yeah.
Like if I just made that right turn
to
TV and could get out of my own shit and not just want to like commiserate with 19th century Russians. You're like, one wants to smoke and commiserate, right? And the other one could have like actually picked her, like made my dream easier and quicker.
Yeah.
I eventually got there, but it's
I'm sort of reflecting, as you've sort of implied, that quite what you imagined you were going to do with Russian 19th century literature anyway for a career was probably part of it too. So
right, it was, yes, right, like it was there, like the inside joke was there, and why I liked it, and what I got to read, and what I was learning from reading it, or why I related to it, and what I could use for my future writing for shit sure was there. But like there could have been a quicker turn.
Yeah.
Shortcut.
So things happened. You sort of got where you wanted to get. Your sister helped you, and then you had to pay it back. So what then happened?
Yes. During this time was I was learning to coach. So coaches at Handel Group have to go through the entire method, right? Like you have to get yourself happy in your own life in order to coach other people, right? Doesn't mean you have to live a perfect life. You just have to walk the talk and be able to talk about when you trip and fall. Yeah. Right. Because you're gonna. So everything she made me do, I make my clients do, or now I write about it. Mm-hmm. So it was fun for me, right? So it's like, oh, right. So I could speak to people that are, chicken shits in their life about their career, or pretend like they don't know what it is, but they just don't want to say it because they'll have to go do it. Yeah. Right. So the minute I was willing to even admit Carrie Bradshaw, fake, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'd like to be a Darren Star character, right? Like it was the minute I had to start writing, calling, everything that was scary. Mm-hmm. Right. So the fun for me is I get to go be a Pied Piper as a coach. Come on. Here's a conversation I had to have with my husband. Here's a conversation I had with my tween asshole daughter. Here's like everything I've been through, I use to coach. And most of my clients, magically, organically end up being fellow hostile housewife chicken shits. You're like, I speak that.
So, I mean, that was, I guess, going to be one of my questions, that you've clearly got a very strong personality, and I guess you're probably not for everyone. Some people will see this as really a great challenge that they need, and I guess some people would probably run a mile from being challenged in such a way. Is that fair to say?
Completely. I was like, oh, you're flirting. I'm not for everyone. Right? I'm like, that's like a good thing. Like that has turned into like a compliment, It's true. Like, here's the good news about Handel Group is we've got like a wide variety of coaches. Yeah. So, look, we're still going to hold you to account, right? It's just the method. Like, we are not going to go like, we're not therapists. We're not like, there are sweeter than me for sure. And that will take a slower path, but the same road is going to go to maybe it's you, right? And can you find out that that's good news? That it's not just the economy, just your mother-in-law, just your husband, just your kids, right? It's like, it's so much more fun to find your own fingerprints everywhere. Yes. Yeah. And that's the method, right? So yes, it takes a type that actually finds that like refreshing
Mm-hmm.
and empowering, right? Of let's go get your dreams. What's in your way? You.
Yes.
Like, oh, yay. All right. Where am I a jerk? Where are my like dark traits that don't work about me that I want to change?
Yeah. So tell me more about the method, because as you've just said, as I surmised, you have a whole range of different styles within the organization, but you're using the same method, which you said that you needed to go through yourself as well as then be able to work with other people with. What are the principles? Tell us more about that method.
Yes. Well, it's a method my sister, Lauren, created and then developed and taught it at MIT and NYU and Columbia. Like, so she really has been doing for 20 years, have been like figuring out how to take a human from point A to Z, right? And have it be a lasting change, not like a great podcast you listen to that lasts, right? Yeah. It's like, ooh, how do you cause lasting change? So there's definitely, we have an online course called Interview that we take you through it's like 12 to 15 modules, depends on which interview you do. There's like interview career and interview love and interview life. But in interview life, our like basic core is module 1 is we're getting you to start admitting your dreams, right? And not just your dream, like your career dream, that too, but dreams in 12 different areas of your life. Because most of us really live in compartments, right? Of like, let me just care about love and career, or just career, money, right? Or just your body, I'll just go deal with here. But we don't realize that if any of the areas sucks, right, it's got to leak into the others.
Yes.
Right? It's got to, right? Even 20 pounds you need to lose, it still leaks into who you are at work.
Yeah.
Right? Or who you are in bed, or who you are, like anywhere. Okay. It's like hard. So we make you go dream in 12 different areas. And that's probably one of our toughest assignments. Yeah. Right. It's a bummer. It's like module 1, right? Can you get through it? Right. But what you find, which is so fascinating and incriminating, is how much we humans suck at dreaming.
Yes.
Right. Like if you gave your kid go dream, right? He would like be prolific. Right? Yeah. Like they know exactly the size, house, you know what I mean? The younger they are, the wider, more outrageous, more fun their dreams are. Yeah. Right? As you get older, you only dream what you think you can have.
Absolutely. We self-edit massively, don't we?
Oh my God, we suck. And then the most fascinating and fun part for me as a writer and a coach is like reading a person's first assignment.
Yeah.
Like how mean and stingy we are to ourselves in those dreams, like you have no idea. And then the awesome part is you have no idea, right? So that when you write your dreams and you finally get them all out, right? And then we're like, let's read them out loud.
Yeah.
Right. And the first take, if you haven't done a lot of work on yourself, is alarming.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're like hoping you fall in love and they don't cheat. They're emotionally stable. They have their own friends, right? But like what you're willing, it's just gross, right? Like you're talking about yesterday in your dream today.
Yes.
Right. And you don't realize it, and you don't realize how mean you are, right? You're like, my triceps don't jiggle, right? I can see my toes, right? And you're like, really? That's as good as it gets. Right. So it's really hard to go write your like what a 9, 10 would be in your life. You don't even know. Yeah. You're aiming for 6.
Yes. Yeah. It is interesting when I talk to people about getting to live more, which is part of my sort of philosophy, which I talk about getting to do more of the things you want to do and less of the stuff that you don't want to do. Often if you talk about, that day when you have that opportunity, which I'm going to ask you about later, people don't actually know what they would do in just a day where they get to live more. And that's just a day. And you think, if you compare that to your whole life, you can see why we're sort of not able to think more expansively about what we want to do.
Yeah. And it's not, the fun to start looking at is it's not as sad, scored by a violin as we want to play it. right? It's more sneaky. Because if you had to dream it or say, this is what I want, Joe, in a day, you'd have to do something about it, right? You'd have to say a lot more no's. You'd have to get honest over here. You'd have to quit. You'd have to, right? Mm-hmm. Right? There's like so much more we'd have to go do that we don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's fascinating, right? So that's module 1, is we got you dreaming. Then we have you writing, like, if that's your dream, here, this is your 9-10. What's your current rating? Yeah. Compared to that, and why? Mm-hmm. Right. And over in that section, you are prolific. Okay. You're like, it's so much easier to write why I can't have that than write what I want.
Yes.
So then we're starting to just kind of break down the species. You're like, can you see how mean you are? Can you see in this paragraph of why you can't have it? This is where all your bullshit excuses live. This is where your crappy theories live. Mm-hmm. This is where we distinguish different voices in your head, your inner dialogue, and we call it like your chicken, your brat, and your weather reporter, right? Voice of fear, voice of I don't wanna, right? You're not the boss of me. That one. And then the weather reporter that reports about your life like you have nothing to do with it, right? Like, just like it rains in Seattle, you're a procrastinator and have always been. You're not a morning person, right? That's where that lives. So we have you start to hear those voices so you could like distinguish them, as they're not really you. They're just your inner dialogue that you haven't curated.
Yeah.
That work for you to get out of living your dream life and getting busy and doing scarier things than you're doing now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. And not failing, right? We're so busy not failing that we just don't realize, like, you can't fucking have your dream if you're not going for it and possibly failing all the time. Yeah. So that's like module 1 and 2 and 3 is called like, maybe it's you, right? So now you're like rolling up your sleeves and go, oh my God, where should I get really suspicious of myself? What have I been busy doing that has nothing to do with living true to my dream? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And now after we go there, we start dealing with some of your negative and positive traits. Obviously, we don't have to go digging really into your positive ones. Rock on. Yeah. Right. But the ones, your negative ones that you got from your mom and dad, right? Or you did your version of them or not them, we have you start playing with and naming. Because we really just want you to befriend your dark side. Like, it's going nowhere. Yeah. So we need to befriend it, name it, have fun calling it out, name it something goofy, even get proud of catching it. Because most of us walk around feeling so guilty about being like the shit we don't want to be, as opposed to you're like, oh, there's mean motherfucker. Mm-hmm. There she is. There's sweet and sour chicken, right? Like, I've got traits. Yeah. But the minute you can have them, they don't necessarily have you. Yeah. So that's like a fun module of starting to name them. We start to teach you how to leash them and put in the right promises and consequences, which is a very big part of our method, which is we're like, fuck feeling bad. We're not interested in guilt. Like, we do enough of that. Yeah. We're really out to how do you keep a promise that's going to forward your dream. And if you don't keep it, forget feeling guilty, just pay a self-imposed consequence. Come up with one. Because the consequence of just gaining weight, not living true to your dream, isn't enough. Or you'd be doing things differently. Yeah. Right? So now you're just like, what's a good promise? What's a good consequence? The truth is that how I had my TV show actually turn out is I needed a promise to write every day. And if I didn't write 2 hours in the morning every day, I lost my glass of wine at night.
I can see how that would work.
It would work, right? Like, there's like, everyone's got a vice that they'll fight harder for than their dream. It's a bummer. I like wish I cared more about my dream than that 5 o'clock glass of wine, but I really like it. At 4:30, my body's like, it's almost time, right? For sugar, right? So like, I fucking sold my TV show for my wine. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But that's like, welcome to the species. Like, we will fight for our cream in our coffee more than our marriage. Like, it's just true. Mm. So that's a big part of our method, right? And that's what we call like the secret sauce to happiness is like I swear every human, we're not that complicated. You're like 3 to 5 kept promises away from being fucking happy. Like, we're not that tricky.
Yeah.
Of what's it going to take.
So where are we in our process now?
All right. So we're now in, like, we've gone through about 4 modules, right? You're now we've done your traits. You've done your promises and consequences. You even have a promise tracker now in Interview that you could go put your promises. You get a buddy, because the truth is, we still, as much as even when you find out, like, oh my God, I'm 3 to 5 promises away from being happy, you're like, you're still, have you met the species? We don't keep our promises to ourselves. We're not that good at it. We suck, right? Your promises to your kids, you're like, you're not going to just fuck with them. Not really, right? You're not like, I'll pick you up at 3 unless I don't feel like it. Unless I have the emails come in, right? But if it comes to like working out,
yes,
right? If I all of a sudden go into my emails, I could be in my running shoes all day and still never run, barely walk. Okay. So we will throw out our happiness and sell out on it in a heartbeat. So the only way is to keep promises, consequence, and have an accountability buddy that will hold you to it, so that you're not left to your own devices. Because left to your own devices, you'll blame it was the wrong promise. You'll not keep the consequence. You'll feel a little guilty, and that's it. Like, that's the human form, good human formula. As long as you feel guilty and have a good excuse, you're out of there. I was good. I feel really bad. I must be a nice human. It's no, you're just full of shit. So a buddy helps. So that we've got you there. We then have you start to keep for 2 weeks a thought log.
Okay.
Because you need to start hearing what your head does for a living. Right. So the minute I lose wine, because I didn't write every day, right? So the minute I lose wine, my head starts doing, I didn't say beer. Can I have a beer? Right? Like, that's what that head starts doing. Like, it wants to, like, have a workaround. Okay. So it's kind of fun to start hearing it. It's a little upsetting to find out how mean you are and critical of others and critical of yourself. And you get to hear what your head does. The good news is we're starting again to separate you from the head you call home. Because most of us really think that noise and talking is like the real us. Or even a decent advisor, right? You're like, don't talk to them. Don't tell them the truth. It'll hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
Here's what they're going to say, right? Like, our head thinks it's fucking psychic, right? But it doesn't go like, go for your dream, do it anyway. It doesn't root for your dream. It roots for your safety. Right? Go home, watch Netflix. It doesn't matter. They're going to fire you if you say you're going to have a big fight. This is what they're going to say. Here, they'll never forgive me for this. Like, your head is just talking you out of discomfort.
Yeah.
Right? So we have you working on that and starting to hear the different themes your head does, so that you could, again, start to curate your own thoughts. Right? Like, I don't know that it's like 85% of those are negative that's going on in there. And 95% are the day before. And this was even before the pandemic. I could only imagine the stats have gotten worse. Right? So it's starting to go like, wait a minute, if I'm not my thoughts, if they're mine, what do I want to be thinking?
Yeah.
Awesome. Much better, right? What bad trait do I want to replace? What do I want to be thinking? Because we're all like on the road to cleaning up all your stuff so that you could just fucking dream and manifest. And tell your head to shut up when it's not rooting for the right team.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's always like, those voices are never going away the minute your dream gets bigger, right? Like, so you fulfill this dream, now what? Right? It's always going to come back. It's just whether you're going to like be able to handle the dial of your traits. You're like, can I turn it down? Right? Or not. So now we have you start also dealing with some of your past. Right? Because most of us have, like, we call them hauntings. Like, you have memories from your past that you can't seem to shake.
Yeah.
Right? They're not a gazillion. You've got like a good 15. Right? I bet you've never, like, it's when your mother said this, or when you got fired from this job, or like you're holding on to a bunch. And the accusation is that you're holding on to them and can't just flush them. You know what I mean? Our parents said a gazillion mean things. and stupid things. How come I remember these two? Right? Like they said so many stupid things. Right? But these two, right, I'm going to hold on to and suffer over forever and bring up whenever I need. So we're like, why? Let's go looking at why. And then the accusation is that the reason why you won't let go of them is because you're telling them there's a lie in them.
Yeah.
Like you're not telling them accurately, or you haven't learned the right lesson from them. So you're still using them, right? You haven't just flushed them in, okay, dad said stupid things, okay. You just haven't flushed them. Okay, the reason why I really got fired is this. And here's what I didn't say, didn't do, didn't this. It doesn't mean take all fault, but it's like, what didn't you learn? Because the minute you learn the right lesson, it doesn't stay in the back of your fridge anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get suspicious of what's still back there. So that's a heavy module, but really awesome when you start to go deal with your hauntings and start to unravel them and poke holes in them and go ask the right questions or go search out that person and really ask what happened versus what you think happened.
Yeah.
Like I remember when, you know, my memory of my past is like my mother and I used to like battle all the fucking time. Right? Like I can still hear her coming up at the steps 2 by 2 coming after me.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember the like bite marks in the soap. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, she's a fucking nut. And so that's like my story about my mom in childhood. Right. Yeah. And then I remember how like doing this work with my sister, and my sister's my younger sister. So she like by the time like she was too young to remember the soap stories. And by the time my parents got to her, my mother was like, you know, left her with a babysitter. She was so done with children.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but my sister's like, Marnie, really? All the time? You used to fight all the time? She used to hit you all the time? Like, what's this? What? Like, really? All the time? How often? She just asked like an innocent, how often?
Yes.
And I'm like, no, all the time. and she's like, go call Matt or Beth. Like, go call them. Go find out, because I don't remember. I don't know. Go find out. Yeah. And so I called my brother because I thought he would more like align with my story.
Yeah.
So I called him and he's like, oh, I don't know, Marty, like maybe once a month, if even.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now I'm in like, right? Like my story's skewed.
Yes.
Right? Really, I was in like every day, every other day.
Yeah.
And how my head wanted to tell that sad story.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean my mother was great. She was a fucking over the edge. That's her. But the way I wanted to tell it and how it was going down wasn't a fair telling. So the minute my sister like questioned that and had me go question was the minute like we call it an unraveling. Like it's like taking a thread out of a sweater. Here, let me just pull this.
Yeah.
Because like it started to unravel my whole poor Marnie story.
Yes. Interesting.
How often, what? So it's really a fascinating process of can you tell a story straight or more balanced?
Yes.
Doesn't mean erase what my mom did, but can I tell it more balanced because it isn't being told fairly? And that's why it stays in my repertoire.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's an awesome module and a really great experience to go be able to put your past like in the right chapter and back behind you, really. And be able to tell the story proudly.
Yes.
Of the retell.
Yeah.
From an author's perspective versus a victim's perspective, where most of us will tell those stories.
Yeah.
So that's a deep and awesome module. We then go into something much lighter. Not really. We go into your lying, like lie list. Okay, of every which way, every variety of lie you tell or have told in your whole life, right? Like, and we call omissions lying.
Okay.
The things you don't, right? So a list of things you didn't say and to whom, right? Or where, you know, whatever. You cheated in high school on this test or whatever, and here's your drug list. Here's your this list. Like, here's who doesn't know what. And because most of us really walk around with our own scarlet letter about what we've done, embarrassed about it, not proud of it, and not just owning and cleaning it up with whoever you need to go clean it up with. Right. And because the truth is, if you have lies, they have lies. Like, it's not like, oh my God. And we don't have it's how dare you bad, right? We have you're just human, right? There's no light without dark. So can we just like own our freaking dark side? Can you get freed up and just be able to tell everything without embarrassment, shame, and all the shit we do to it? Okay. So that's lying and really having you go through that and really having you like, whatever, call that ex-girlfriend and tell them this and apologize for it and make those phone calls. Right. Look, because however many you're willing to make is the freer you'll get about who you are and just owning your good and bad.
Yeah.
Right. And then there is no phone call, no this, no Facebook, no nothing that haunts you anymore. You're just your own free, freak flag flying, cute human. Right. And then that's what, and then so like once you've finished all that, now now you can see like we're clearly ready to go create who you want to go like be today.
Yeah.
And write your manifesto or your mission statement, or we call it your I am statement of who are you.
And where are we in sort of timescales for this? Because this sounds like a lot of work.
Really, people could get this done in 6 months. It just depends who you are. It could take you. Our new CMO, 2 years it took her, but it was because she was on that like kind of slowish ride. But sometimes it really takes. If you wanted to become a Handel Group coach, it could take, like we say, 2 years.
Yeah.
But could you do it in 6 months? Could you really go this, and this? And it's like, ideally, you're going in that order. But the truth is we could get a client and go like, holy fuck, let's just hit your hauntings first. Right? Like you have to go do triage because you can hear what's like killing them. And not like why you can't even dream is because you've got this lie list on and you're not forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
So like there's a level at which your coach knows what you should go do, right?
Yes.
And how to go find where most of your cavities live. So we could just go deal with them. So it really can be done in 6 months, depending on how much of an A student you are, because it really could just listen to a module, just do your assignment. It doesn't have to take this much. It's just how resistant, like how long is it going to take you to get your true lie list up there?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right. Could you really go like, rock on, let me just fess it all? Or is it like pulling teeth?
Yeah.
And so that's really, I don't think I missed any. There's laundry lists on people on how to go have a hard conversation, because we teach you how to go. Like, we don't just send you to go clean up a lie without knowing how to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't just send you to go blow up your life. That is not our intent at all.
Yeah, that'd be a bit counterproductive, wouldn't it?
Right? No. So it really is, we teach you. So every module takes you that way.
Yeah.
Step by step by step. How do you go from here to just free to be you?
Yeah. And what does that look like for you in terms of how you work with people? So they're working through this whole process. What do your days look like?
I don't have a ton of clients anymore because I really am writing all, the method and interview. So I wrote interview with my sister. So again, it's like her method. And then turns out I'm a writer. Right?
Yes.
So eventually we're like, we like finally put it together that I'm a coach and a writer. I should be one writing all this for her. But it took us a couple of years to figure that out. Yeah. So I have a couple of clients, they're in interview. So we really use interview as our textbook. Yeah. Right. You're like, all right, go listen to module 1, go do the assignment, bring it with you for our session. Right. So interview you could do by yourself. It comes with a free masterclass. So you really get to go in a group where a coach, I lead the love one sometimes, takes you through modules 1 to 4 in a group. So you go do the homework, you could read your dreams, so you could get coaching. You're not alone doing it.
Yeah.
So it comes with 1 free private coaching session, so you can get a flavor for what it's like to be one-on-one if you're not the group kind of person.
Yeah.
And then it chucks you into a group that you could, listen, participate, do it at your own speed.
Yeah.
So my day looks like if I have a client, they've done their assignment, I've read their assignment, I have them have it because I really like to hear it and like them to hear it so I can teach them what I hear so they can start to do it by themselves and hear what I hear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we're going through it. So we're going through their hauntings, we're going through whatever we're up to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so given you're doing that, you're working with some people, you're writing, you've got your 5 o'clock wine. How do you get done what you get done? Using the wine probably as the incentive, but
just get to the finish line. The funniest part about the wine is like when COVID started, like all hell broke loose in last March. We started to like, how are we going to save our people, right? And so we started to offer free community calls. So Lori Gerber, our coach, did like the 9 a.m. and I did the 5 p.m. every day for a lot of months. We were doing that of just let's get their back, like let's handle them and take care of everybody. Eventually we like wound that down. So she just does Monday mornings at 9 and I do Friday at 5.
Yeah.
So we just got their week, but it's free. And then I remember I was like, Lauren, to my sister, I was like, I'll do it, except you're fucking with my 5 o'clock wine. Right? Like I don't drink and coach. Like I can't, that's illegal. Right? So what? And she's like, Marnie, 1, it's a free call. 2, we're calling it wine down, right? Like everyone can bring the glass of wine. Could you just be you? So my Friday, I'm allowed my glass of wine, but it turns out it's just a joke because I'm too busy talking to drink. Like it's only if I'm a guest can I have like a sip or two. But look, I'm a morning person, which is a very good theory for me.
Yeah.
Like it's a good one. It's a good weather report. So I really still have my promise because if you're looking like Marnie, what are your 3 to 5 that keep you happy? I have to write my own stuff, even if my stuff ends up sounding a lot like Handel stuff, right? Even I'm working on a play right now that it can't help but have method in it. Because it's how my head works now. But I have to write that. So I'm working on a screenplay and a play. I have to work on that for at least an hour every morning. Because what happens is if I don't, I start to hate on Handel work.
Right.
Right. I start to go martyry about it. Like, oh, what about me?
Yeah.
But I don't get the bad joke that it's me who threw it out first because my stuff is actually harder to write for me than Handel.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I go straight to Handel and blame Handel, I don't catch a whiff of that is my chicken that doesn't want to go write comedy, and dialogue, which is so much harder for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And scarier. It's so much more intimate, right? Yeah. This has feelings. This is like straight up method. I got this.
Yeah.
So I have to write every morning, which makes me a much more pleasant chief creative officer, mother, wife. Like it just makes me a better human if I take care of me first.
Yes. Yeah.
So I work out. I have a personal trainer. I go for a walk when I'm not there's rules to keep me nice. So right? You're like, oh, it's right. Yeah. Exercise. It's right and exercise and make sure I'm keeping my sex promise with my husband or we start to hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that much harder. I don't think I have much more than that. Right. Yeah. And finish when I finish. Right. If I wanted my glass of wine at 5, I lose my wine still to this day. If I haven't written, it's the way to keep me clean.
Yeah.
Is I need to dangle the carrot. I wish it weren't so. I've been coaching for 20 years and I still need a carrot.
And I guess once you've found the thing that works, then keep going with it.
You have, human beings, look, there's certain promises I don't need anymore, right? I'm shallow enough to really never need eat well and stay thin. I'm shallow. It's a given. Okay. I care too much.
Yeah.
There's certain ones where I can be a chicken shit, right? Where my chicken lives. That I have to put the right promise and a right consequence in. Look, it's not sex with my husband is fun, but every time he's like, you want to, my asshole is like, nah. TV, Netflix, right? Where are they? Right? We're watching, something dark and great. So the level at which I could sell out on my relationship in a heartbeat if I don't have a promise.
Yeah.
And I'm still amazed. Look, it's the same as exercise, right? I'm like, well, I shouldn't have exercised today. But this morning at 4 a.m. when my husband's like, you coming for a walk with us? I'm like, no, it's done, right? Like my first response out of the gate is not my higher self.
Yeah.
So the only way to force higher self in areas where you need that, not every area you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Then you need a promise and a consequence and everyone in your life to know.
Yes. Yeah. Some accountability.
Because you won't. Yeah, because you just won't do it. You won't do it. You'll have a good excuse. You'll have my head wants to go, Marnie, you should write instead of that walk. It wants to sell out on the walk or sell out on the writing. Like it depends what I'm doing.
Yeah. So just moving on to the last couple of questions then. Firstly, what about those days where it all goes horribly wrong, where things don't work as they're supposed to? How do you deal with those days?
Here's like a really good practice. I have 2 really good practices on how to deal with yourself. Okay. On days that whatever, the phone call comes in, you get one of those, your kid's crying and you now want to like get on that train.
Yeah.
Okay. Bad thoughts, bad this, worry, and fuck everything else. Every morning I have to send my sister, I have another sister, my negative inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to like we call it a purge. It's like vomiting stream of consciousness, what your head is doing. Oh, it's fucking Monday again. I have 12 meetings. How am I going to get anything done? Sophie called me. I'm worried about her now. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm responsible for getting what's in here out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because anything that stays in your head starts to look for proof.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So one of our like favorite mantras these days is like, what you believe, you prove.
Right.
Okay. So watch what you're thinking, watch what you're believing, because even if it's shit, like human beings are committed to being right no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it's like my father doesn't love me. Okay. Even my mother-in-law is an asshole. Right. And now every phone call is colored by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, my child's fucked, right? Like any of that, right? You have to get out because you don't want to be thinking it, because you're going to be proving it and acting upon, and results don't lie. So if I get my negative inner dialogue out, and after you write your bleh, okay, you're writing it with the intent to flush it. You're not writing it with like, you're right, Marnie, the world sucks, humanity sucks, fuck them, right? You're not sending it to someone that's going to buy what you're selling.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I write that. And then what you have to do is write a talk back, which is like hire your higher self to now go talk to what your head was just saying. Yeah. Marnie, that's not true. You just need to write. It's going to be okay. Sophie's going to be okay. You know it. This is her lane. She needs to learn her own lessons. Just get writing. It's going to be okay. Like whatever you need, whatever you'd say to your best friend to talk them off a ledge and mean it. Yeah. You need to do that to you, which most of us don't. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I do every morning, even if I don't have a lot. It's just like the want to out it, as dark as it fucking is. Yeah. Most of us don't want to say what's really there. Yes. Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're going to want to edit it. You're going to want to be like, I don't think she's so nice. Right. Like you're not going to go, I think she's a dumb bitch. I wears too much makeup. You're not going to say any of that. Yeah. Okay. So you have to be willing to really meet that dark yuck. Yeah. Right. Because the only way you can meet that dark yuck and talk back to it is the only way you're going to get free to really manifest. And then the next thing we have you do, besides just get rid of that to your buddy and talk back to it, is we have you do what we call a design day, like a DD, we call them. So to my buddy and a group of people, I probably do it to the entire marketing department and the executive department at Handel, and a couple extra friends that want to know how my day is going to go and how I am, is we design our day. So before your day is manifesting, before your day even happens, you write how it went. Yeah. Okay, so you're like causing your day versus I hope it turns out.
Yes.
Most of us are live by default. We're hoping, right? Toy, this call doesn't come in. I hope it doesn't, whatever. We're in hope, fingers crossed, not causing anything, but not getting that we're not manifesting, we're manifucking.
Yeah.
Right. So I design my day to a group of people and say what's going to happen. And in that is not just to-do lists. It has some to-dos, but it really is to-be's. Oh my God, I'm a genius. Team is adorable. Finish the blog. Magical emails come in. Unexpected money. Like whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Okay. And I send that by, I think it's 9 a.m. these days. 9 a.m. during the week. So 15 people. And at the end of the day, I go back to it and I say next to each thing how it went. I don't put excuses. I don't do stories, unless it's a great magical story, but I'll go, you know what I mean? Blog done. No.
Yeah.
Magical emails in. Yes. One. Right. So that my world of people know how I did or didn't do. And I know how I did or didn't do in causation.
Yes.
And those two practices keep me in charge of my life versus life happening to me.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, life will just happens.
Yes.
Right. And we just bounce and are a reaction to shit that's happening. Versus, can I be the director of my life? Like, can I direct it? And then you get to see how magical you actually are.
Yes.
Or aren't.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Yeah, cool. And so the last question then is, I touched on it earlier, which is that whole thing about on those days where you get to live more, and that's where you get to do more of what you want to do and less of what you don't want to do. What do those days look like for you?
Look, I'm really lucky because I've got a good gig. Right? I'm sure I've earned it, right? I have to design my day, right? So besides that I'm designing my day, I really am in my calendar putting what's going to happen today. So I'm responsible. I'm not hoping things happen. I really set a time from 12 to 1. I'm working on the blog.
Yeah.
And I'm not really allowed to go push that unless, right? I can push it once if I get an emergency call or whatever, or there's, a fire.
Yeah.
But I know, right? And I'm a visual person. So I also like to have, I have a big whiteboard over here of what I want to happen or fun ideas that I have. And I get to go play all day. So I'm really, my job is writing all day long when I'm not on phone calls. Right? With a bunch of people I really like.
Yeah.
So I'm already living very true. Right. And I have to remember, when I don't go into my trait of mean martyr fucker, or I have to do everything for you, and I'm really taking care of me too and designing my life. Tomorrow I decided, and this is a rarity for me, I have to step out of my own box and go, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to go with the person I'm writing the screenplay. I'm going to go to her house, and instead of just doing once a week for an hour, I'm going to go spend 5 hours with her.
Yeah.
And really knock out some of the stuff that's taking us too long. But I swear I had to get out of my head for, can I do that during the work week? Is it work? And I was like, wait a minute, Handel owns part of the screenplay. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
No one but me would stop me from doing that. No one that I work for would think that was me being slippery, except for me. That's it. It's like a scary move to go do. It's really ballsy. But because I'm in a promise also every day of doing bold, out of my box, nauseating moves, make myself nauseous daily for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a martyr and I'll sell out me for you and then hate you later. It's not as nice as it seems. Right? It seems like martyr is nice. It's not.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm good at the minute you don't appreciate me, you're dead.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the sport most of us martyrs are in. It's don't ask for more than I give. God, do you know how much I sold out? Answer, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's such a setup for them to not appreciate me in a second. And I don't get that's the sport my trait's in.
Yeah.
So the key is making sure I'm in integrity in my dreams. I'm doing the right promises to keep me happy, and designing every day like it mattered. Like I wasn't allowed to not be proud of myself or have scared myself, or when I haven't, just account for it.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the right sport. So it's like figuring out your sport to live every day like it's your last and it matters.
Yeah. So thank you, Marnie. I said it was going to be like 30 to 40 minutes. We've gone longer. It's been a blast. It's been a challenge. I feel like I can go and challenge myself with some of those things and think about those prompts.
Right? Yes, you should think of what your 3 to 5 are. That would scare you and make you really proud.
Exactly. So thank you. Tell people how they can find out more about you and get in contact.
If you go on handelgroup.com or inneryou.coach, you could go find us, go look up InnerYou. You could find out all about our coaches. You could find me. You could get on our newsletter and read our blogs, and check us out. We have lots of coaching on there. You could come to the free community calls. You could come have a glass of wine with me on Fridays, right? So just go look up community calls or Wine Down with Marnie, where you can find us on Instagram, Handel Group. So we're all over the place to really find us. There's loads of free coaching and loads of, you could come and find out questions. You could sign up for a free consultation and speak to a human about coaching and what's right, like the right fit for you and what you can afford. Because we really care about you. Like this is not on like living your dream, have you go broke.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not our goal. Right, no, is to just really teach like all of humanity to like human better at your own pace.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Thanks for your time today.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Are you a home-based coach or consultant feeling like you need a bit of help? Our Power to Live More Calm membership is designed to meet you where you're at with the help you need in the moment so you can get unstuck, move forwards and get stuff done. You might think this sounds too good to be true, or maybe wondering how it would fit with how you work and run your business. Why not have a no obligation chat with Jo to see how she can help you? All you need to do is go to powertolivemore.com/calmcall.
All this information is available in the show notes, which you'll find either in your podcast app, or you can go to the website at powertolivemore.com/ in this case 215. And this week's topic is email marketing. We talked at the Gold Members Call on Monday about how email marketing is still a useful tool, although you'll hear many people say that email marketing is dead. Usually people who've just emailed you to tell you that. We talked about how a regular newsletter can be helpful in building relationships and engaging with your list. And a top tip from me and also from Ashley, one of the members, is about making notes through the week as things come to you that you'd like to share with your audience, and make that note so that you sort of have your newsletter half done when you finally get down to writing it, because sometimes it's that whole procrastination thing of having a blank page or a blank email template and not knowing what to put in it. So it's good practice to make those notes as you go along. And certainly a good few years ago, I used to send 2 newsletters a week and always had tons of information to go in them because I was making notes as I went through the week of ideas and inspiration to put in there. The other thing to think about is an autoresponder series, and that's for new people to your list or people who've just downloaded something specific, and you can, depending on which email service you're using, you can trigger a whole series of autoresponders based on actions that person has taken. And that's where you set up a series of emails that, as I say, are triggered, and it gives them information that they want over a period of time, as well as an introduction to you and what you do. And that just goes out automatically with a particular sort of gap between each of those emails. So you're not having to do them yourself each week as you would do with a broadcast newsletter. One thing to remember is that people who make email marketing work for them usually email often, maybe even daily. And I think sometimes as business owners, we sort of judge our audience by our own sort of perspective. And so we might sort of not email very often because we don't want to bother our list and we think that it might annoy them because we sort of think that's what happens to us. And, I have to say there's quite a few people I have whose mailing list that I'm on, and they do email regularly, and I'm not bothered, and I either read what they've got because it's interesting, or I ignore it and just delete it until the next one comes in. And it doesn't sort of make me want to unsubscribe from what they're sending, as long as they're sending me good, useful stuff. But I, along with many other business owners, often think I won't email more often to my own list in case it annoys them. And I do think we probably ought to emulate others who are having success with their email marketing rather than holding ourselves back and not wanting to bother people. But obviously it's about getting that balance between what you're happy and comfortable doing and what your audience are happy to receive. But I would say don't be frightened of unsubscribes. If people don't want to hear from you, then they're unlikely to come around at some stage to buying from you or recommending you to other people. So actually, if they're not on your list, it's not the end of the world, because they're not going to take any action anyway. So probably best if they do unsubscribe. So don't be frightened of that or concerned about that. It's a bit like on social media when people say, until you've upset people, you're probably not standing for anything in particular. And people having an opinion one way or the other, black and white, about what you do is actually a good thing, rather than just being sort of grey or vanilla or whatever metaphor we'd use to describe that. I think consistency is really important, and that's of, messaging, but also frequency, as I've already said, and actually sort of getting something out on a regular basis and finding a process that works for you to do that, and repeating it is key as far as that's concerned. We did have a little discussion about GDPR, and I said really if you're using a reputable email marketing company like Aweber, who I use, or MailChimp, or one of the other providers, then you need to be explicit as to what people will get when they join your list. So what they're signing up for, usually a download and a regular newsletter. And ideally use double opt-in. So that's where they say, yes, please, I want to be on your list. Then they get sent an email to confirm again that they want to be on that list. And then you'll find, because what they've basically done is demonstrated that they really do want to be on your list. And you've, given them that option with full knowledge of what they were doing, if you like. And just finally, my recommended supplier I've mentioned on many occasions is Aweber. I have been with them since about 2008, I think it is. And I've just stuck with them. And recently, they've really started to further develop what they offer and put some really great functionality in. And so I absolutely do recommend them and have done for a long time. I'm also an Aweber certified expert. So if you need any help with your setup, then please speak to me. You can have a free account up to 500 subscribers, and you get pretty much everything that they offer at that level, including their 24/7 support. So it's a really good offer. If you go to joedods.com/recommends/Aweber, then you can sign up there and give it a go. And if you're looking for further help with your email marketing and list building, then that's one of the areas that we cover within the Power to Live More Calm membership. And you can find out more about that at powertolivemore.com/getcalm. Again, the show notes are at powertolivemore.com/215. And we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.